Now, people loved How to Train Your Dragon because it didn't treat them like idiots. You see, it was one of the few animated movies that actually respected the audience from start to finish. So, when the live action How to Train Your Dragon remake was announced, well, fans were cautious but hopeful. Now, the early reaction said it stayed true to the original, almost frame by frame. But now, just days before the release, the conversation has shifted, not because of the story, not because of the effects, but because of the way How to Train Your Dragon star Nico Parker handled questions about her casting as Astrid. And when a movie like How to Train Your Dragon it promises to go ahead and just stay loyal to the source, but changes one of the most recognizable characters, well, fans are going to go ahead and have questions. I'm going to be honest here. I didn't hear anybody complaining about, the fact that this character of Astrid was race swapped and stuff, by a black actress or a minority actress who's also the daughter of legendary British actress Thandie Newton. Okay. I haven't heard anything about that, but even if I were to hear about it, well, it wouldn't really be much of a big deal. Okay. Now, to be fair, How to Train Your Dragon, the trilogy itself, especially with the first film, are really solid movies. You see, they got strong storytelling, a ton of heart, and characters that connected with a lot of people. So naturally, the pressure is high going into this live action versions, and fans want it done right. And one of the big positives we've been hearing lately, especially after early reactions from CinemaCon, is that the filmmakers haven't tried to reinvent the wheel here. I mean, they've stuck, closely to the animated source. You see, they didn't go out their way to alter major plot points or inject some kind of modern messaging into it. I mean, that's something that a lot of people can actually appreciate. A lot of the early responses, however, both positive and negative, actually agree on that one core point. This live action How to Train Your Dragon is extremely faithful to the original. Now, some critics have said, it's a little too close, that it doesn't offer anything new. But for fans of the animated films, that's kind of the appeal that they want. They've said they love it because it feels like the animated movie is brought to life. You can't please everyone, of course, but sticking to the story is a better gamble than overhauling everything that fans loved in the first place, okay? And that's what I've been saying the whole time. But that said, there is one change that's getting attention, one casting decision that sparked a bit of backlash. It involves Nico Parker, as you all see here, who plays Astrid. Now, Astrid is a major character in How to Train Your Dragon, known in the original animation as a blonde, blue-eyed Viking warrior and romantic interest for Hiccup. Nico Parker, while clearly talented, doesn't match the physical description. You see, she's mixed race and does not have blonde hair or blue eyes. And while she's quite light skinned and stuff, the visual difference was enough to go ahead and spark discussion online. Now, I can hear from the liberals out there saying it's wrong to go ahead and be going into colorism and everything. Well, guess what? This black man don't care what a bunch of white liberals have to say who dictate the racial narrative and stuff that's affected by people that's not their race. Okay, but back to the topic, most fans probably wouldn't have taken major issue with it if the production had taken steps to visually match the character. Something as simple as, a blonde wig would have likely quieted most criticism, okay? But because, again, the rest of the How to Train Your Dragon adaptation, seems to go out of this way to keep things consistent with the animated version. So when there's one clear departure from that in a lead role, well, people are going to notice. You see, that's not necessarily a sign of outrage, it's just something that fans tend to call out, especially when the rest of the movie is trying to stay faithful, but at the same time, they don't let it get to them. You see, the controversy really escalated when Nico Parker responded publicly to the backlash. Okay, and I don't even think it was really a backlash. Okay, it was more like a something that was noticed, and the media, the woke media out there, is taking it and running with it. Now, a few days before the release, headlines hit. How to Train Your Dragon star fires back at fans upset over her casting as Astrid. In a conversation with the Times of London, Parker addressed, the complaints and said she simply doesn't care about the criticism regarding her appearance. Okay, so basically, she said she can't value your opinion on my hair and made it clear that she's not losing sleep over fan concerns. The timing of those comments right before the movie's release wasn't ideal, okay? But to her credit, I mean, she did acknowledge, that there are fans out there who genuinely love the animated How to Train Your Dragon movies and just want a faithful adaptation. Now, she did express some hope that, viewers would find something to go ahead and enjoy regardless of those differences. But I mean, she then added that for people who hate inclusivity or hate change, she couldn't care less. I mean, that's where things started to go ahead and sound a bit dismissive. And that kind of messaging tends to go ahead and backfire when you're talking about, a passionate fan base that's been invested in the story for over a decade, possibly ever since most of them were kids. Now, look, it's not like this is the same scale as what happened with Rachel Zegler and Snow White, where the entire marketing campaign turned into a big, long-winded PR disaster. But Nico Parker's comments are still a risk, especially considering how much goodwill this How to Train Your Dragon movie had been building. Now, it's the kind of thing that, pulls away from the actual content of the movie and shifts the conversation to a culture war territory, which is exactly what studios should be trying to avoid at this point, okay? Now, I'll be honest with you. The backlash is not really severe from what I see and everything. And also, she didn't call those who had an issue with it any, racist or sexist or any other Islamophobic buzzwords and everything. Okay. The fact of the matter is, she just stated that she doesn't care what they think and she's moving on with it. I hope she don't go out there and try to insult them and everything in any kind of way on social media or in other interviews and stuff. Because guess what? That backlash is going to go ahead and come back and bite her in the butt. Now, even if she does do that and people go ahead and see the movie and they enjoy it, okay, that's cool. But at the same time, I mean, these kind of comments may go ahead and affect, how people are going to feel about seeing the movie itself. Now, granted, I'm not going to see the movie because I'm not interested in it. I already know what happens at the end. We all know what happens at the ending and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, why are you going to go ahead and do a live action remake of something and stuff, especially when people are tired of live action remakes thanks to Disney? Okay. But the reality is that even critics who didn't love the live action version have acknowledged that it sticks close to the source material. Okay. Now, that's rare these days, and it's exactly what fans of How to Train Your Dragon, excuse me, have been asking for. Now, people want to see the same characters, the same arcs, the same tone. So when a major character's appearance is changed, even if slightly, it does create a bit of a contrast. And when that change is met with a response like, I don't care what you think, well, it kind of makes things worse. Okay. Now, the fans aren't nitpicking for the sake of it. You see, they care because they've seen what happens when studios try to tweak too much. You see, they've seen beloved characters reimagined to go ahead and fit narratives that have nothing to do with the original story. And when How to Train Your Dragon was announced as a faithful adaptation, well, those same fans felt heard until suddenly they weren't. That kind of shift makes people feel like they've been baited And that's where the frustration comes from. All right. Now, there were better ways for Nico Parker to go ahead and handle the criticism. A more measured response, acknowledging the fans have strong feelings while reassuring them that the heart of the story remains, would have been smarter. Okay. Something along the lines of, I know you how much people love Astrid, and I did everything I could to honor her spirit. Now I hope fans will give it a chance. I mean, that right there would have gone over far better than outright dismissal. It wouldn't have added fuel to the fire, and it would have kept the focus on the film itself, all right, rather than getting backlash. But because again, this isn't just about Nico Parker or about one character, it's about a trend from the studios, and How to Train Your Dragon was supposed to be the exception. A straightforward, respectful adaptation without the noise. But instead, there's now a swirl of distraction just days before release. And it didn't need to happen. You see, the movie was riding a wave of cautious optimism. You know, comments like these put a dent in that basically. But still, I think there's reason to believe that this movie will do well. Now, if the word of mouth continues to say How to Train Your Dragon is a loyal retelling with solid performances and great visuals, then fans may still turn out in big numbers. I mean, the franchise already has a strong base, and if it's handled properly, this could be one of the rare success stories in live action remakes. Now, that's what a lot of people are hoping for, okay? But the lesson here is clear. Fans aren't the enemy. You see, they're the reason these adaptations even get, greenlit in the first place. They're the ones who made How to Train Your Dragon a classic in the first place. And when a studio takes on a project like this, How to Train Your Dragon, the smartest thing it can do is respect that legacy. That doesn't mean things can't change, but it does mean that if you make changes, well, you'd better be ready to explain them with some humility and care, okay? Now, hopefully, the rest of the cast and crew stay focused on what matters. Now, if the movie is good, and it sounds like it is, then it deserves to be talked about for its strengths, not for avoidable side drama. A faithful How to Train Your Dragon remake could go a long way in rebuilding trust with audiences who feel burned out by other studios. It just needs to stay on course and not let outside distractions overshadow what seems to be a strong final product, okay? Now, in the end, people just want the story that they love to be told again with care. I mean, that's what How to Train Your Dragon live action remake promised, and even with this hiccup in the press cycle, no pun intended, there's still a path forward. If the film sticks the landing, delivers on the emotion and character work, and respects the original narrative, then the audiences will show up. That's really what it all comes down to. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Be sure to smash that like button, share the video far wide across social media, subscribe to the channel, turn on that bell for future uploads and notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.